Hi boys, here's another review lesson on something we did right before break. This is involving solving factored equations. So this equation would have been factored into these two binomials, and our goal is to figure out what is the value of the variable to make this entire equation equal to 0. Whatever number you get for s in this example, that answer is called a root, but don't always focus on that word because I just want you understanding how to get that answer, which is just setting both of these individual expressions equal to 0. So if you remember, I had you rewrite the first expression in the parentheses as s minus 4 and set it equal to 0. And then I had you do the exact same thing with the second binomial, and you just took the expression s plus 7 is equal to 0. Then from here, we solved each of them individually. For these, they're just one-step equations, so the inverse operation to get the first answer of s is we add 4 to both sides, and we have s is equal to 4 as one of our roots or one of our solutions to this example. The reason this answer works is if you plugged it back in. 4 minus 4 is 0, so we are saying 0. In this case, if we plug 4 in, we get 11, so 0 times 11. Does that equal 0? Yes, that's why it works. In the next example, it's plus 7, and the inverse operation is to subtract 7 on both sides. So this value of s is equal to negative 7. The reason this answer works is if we plug it back in, negative 7 minus 4 is negative 11, and then we are multiplying that by negative 7 plus 7, which is 0. Negative 11 times 0 is 0. So you should be getting two different answers for these expressions that we're working on. In the next example, we did not have it factored fully, but I also hope that you remembered how to do that. This is piggybacking from the greatest common factor to be taken out of a polynomial. So that's what we're going to do. What is the greatest common factor that can be taken out of this expression? I noticed that this coefficient of 1 and this coefficient of 2 are prime, so I can't factor out a number. However, I can factor out a w because they both at least have one w. So I would rewrite that as w, and then divide out w squared divided by w is just 1w left over, plus 2w divided by w is just 2, and still equals 0. And now from here, we're allowed to go ahead and have our two different expressions that we can set equal to 0. So the first one, we take out the w and set that equal to 0. And then we take out our expression in the parentheses, w plus 2, and set that equal to 0. In the first one, there's nothing to undo. It's already isolated. So we have one answer is 0. And the reason 0 works is we plug in 0 in both of these places. 0 times 2 is 0. It works. In the next example, we have to undo an operation, and we're going to have to subtract 2 on both sides. And we have w is equal to negative 2 as a solution, or a root. And that works because if I plug in negative 2, I have negative 2 times negative 2 plus 2, which is 0. So negative 2 times 0 is 0. Just be aware of some of the examples on your worksheet. There may be a coefficient in front of one of the variables. So if I go back to this first one, you might have a coefficient in front of the letter, and that's fine. You just have to undo 2 steps as opposed to 1. I want your work for this assignment to look exactly as I have shown on these examples. I wish you good luck and enjoy your break.